0, 1.
Let's get started.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you all my strategy that I use to make money on the S&P 500 as a professional day trader on one of your favorite assets, okay? And in today's episode, that's going to be none other than ticker symbol Tesla, or I guess TSLA. So let's get right into it, get my big face out of the way. And the very first thing that you need to know when trading this to make some money is the fact that we have a range, okay? It's a pretty obvious level of resistance right here. And then associated with that is also a level of support right in there, okay? Now you may be visually seeing obviously a triangle here, but triangles are a type of consolidation range. Now from this position of bullish strength, we've actually broken out, which leads us into a closer example of how we're going to be making money here in just a second, okay? Now this breakout to the upside is obviously very robust as it pushed up higher and higher, but in this illustration of going and showing strength, we basically now have a three-legged pullback, and we're essentially looking for 1 to 2 variations to play out, okay? Now, this is ultimately going to how you're going to make money, so just pay close attention. The first and ultimate thing is that we're trying to retest this high, okay? The retest of the high is at 470, and that's the major objective for all the bulls out there because that's where we're trying to go. So with that being said, a direct path going higher would simply look for us to continue our movement like so as we go up higher. Now, once we break above this pivot right here, essentially it is a stronger and higher possibility that we're going to continue to push up. However, I do like its chances right now because if you look at it in terms of its relationship to this resistance line right here, and if you draw this all the way back down to the base of where the breakout has occurred, you can see we have found pretty damn good support, if you excuse my French. Now from this position of strength again, we are looking to get into this rotating back up. So for the most part, majority of people are going to have their entry be somewhere close to the representation of right here, okay? All the way back down, let's just say at 435. So from this position of strength, you're arguably going to be able to use a couple different methods to figure things out, but let's just use like the stereotypical method of which we can use this full distance underneath as the swing pivot above, okay? So not only are we trying to target this 470, but we can also target this specific level right here, which is again just above that prior high. So realistically, the market should continue to go up into at very least 454.82 over the next couple of days before we start to see some bigger consolidation. And who knows, we could just go straight up, okay? Now, that being said, we are on the hourly time frame, which just gives us the mindset, the framework. It doesn't tell us how we actually need to day trade this. So for that to happen, we're going to go from the 1 hour to the 15 seems a little complex. So let's just go straight to the 5 minute, okay? So with this being said, let's kind of push this over here. And what we have here is essentially, in my opinion, let's scoot this over, is a series of stacked ranges, all right? So we have this position of bullish strength as we're pushing up. And again, you see that this is a pretty prominent level of consolidation. And just like before, like I mentioned, consolidation can come in the formation of triangles. So with that being said, this is resistance over top and this is support underneath, all right? So very similar to what we just experienced before, we have a breakout. Now this is just a different variation, in my opinion, of a breakout, in which this is a bigger move instead of a grinding break like we saw before. So in this position of strength, we're still looking for that atypical pullback, 3 legs to come back into support. And now we're basically looking on a shorter time frame to come back up to retest this high, okay? So I'm still in the idea frame, at least in the shorter term, that we're trying to get back up to this level at 449.50 before we start changing our opinion. And now that we also know that this thing can swing all the way back up to this prior high here, which is at, let's just say right here, at 450, let's just say 453 3/4, that we do have a lot more room to the upside, as far as potential movement, okay? So let's kind of scoot this over here just a bit, and let's look at some variations of how this should be playing out. Now, for my opinion, it's also a stacked range, okay? So that means that we need to find the range down here first, which is arguably going to be placed right about there. Let's tone that down. Okay, so that's going to be the first level of support, and then as we push back up into this level, You can also say that the next level, that's the range. Let's just use this for right now, and I may have to adjust. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I like this. Okay, so from this position of strength now, we can still extrapolate deviations, okay? Let's actually back that up there. We can look at it now in terms of that being there, and then this being right there. So we have levels of resistance overhead. And now if we copy and paste the deviation underneath, right about here, we can find supportive structure, okay? So that supportive structure is very important, but also this level underneath where the first range has occurred is very important also. So I'm looking at, again, now that you're here for the 5 minutes, these variations to play itself out, okay? The first one would be that we have a more dramatic fall, okay? If the more dramatic the fall, probably the better in this circumstance, in which we come all the way back down to this level here, and then we can actually look for a nested variation in which we come all the way back up to push back up to this prior high at 450.5, okay? Now in this particular situation here, this is actually the best case scenario, because in this scenario we have this range right here, which means that we can actually rotate the full distance underneath the range above for our counterpart biggest move, okay? So essentially that will look like something like so, in which we use this full distance here as the range rotation, and then we can rotate all the way back up, potentially again as high as up to that level that we actually mentioned earlier on, which that's almost perfect. So I would kind of give this the A+ setup ultimately, as far as looking for a setup on Tesla that's bullish, okay? Now, if we do continue to go up higher, I think it shouldn't be anything too surprising, okay? However, if we do go up higher, it's going to have to kind of be on strength because we are in a range. So that basically would look something very similar to this. And again, we have to be a little bit more cautious once we hit that 453. So just be aware that that's going to be very much so in play if we do break up and go higher. But I would look for some sort of variation, like this, and then looking to get in off of the correct entry pattern off of this low here, okay? So just be aware that these are kind of the two variations that I'm looking for most in tomorrow / the next few days market session, okay? The deeper we pull back into support, the better it is, particularly this super golden zone, which I would say is right around 437 3/4, okay? The general idea, just so everyone can understand before I close up, is that we're just rotating, okay? Highs to lows, we're still trying to finish off this rotation, so we may go up, tag this level, come back down, and then rotate up, okay? So just be cautious as we kind of get up to this 449.5, because if we don't explode out, then we don't really need to be messing around with this, because the market could correct shortly. And then again, the A+ setup is going to be right there, right around that zone of 437 3/4, okay? So again, everyone, if this video has helped you out with at least a game plan on how to trade Tesla here coming up in the next several days, and simply give me a like and subscribe. It helps me without the channel's growth. And again, if you want to see me trade this exact same system every single day, I have a live stream here on the channel at 9:30 a.m. So be sure to come back and see me trade this live and in action. Maybe even leave a comment in the live stream chat, okay? So again, everyone, thank you for giving me some of your time, and I will see you all on the next candle.
I know it's hard to trust so-called gurus. That's why I live stream my trades every single day, Monday through Friday, starting at 9:30 a.m. The live stream isn't for you to copy my trades, it's to show proof and credibility that my strategy works. The stream is delayed and muted to protect my edge. But if you want to see everything unmuted and in real time, check out the Discord and Patreon links below. You'll get exclusive perks and the opportunity to learn the system for yourself, so you don't miss great opportunities just like this one.
All right, everyone, so this is going to be one of the trades of the week, and ultimately you can see that we have entered in just above this swing high. Now, the general principle of this is that the lines above represent different levels of a range, and we're essentially looking to rotate now back up through that range. Now, using a volatility-based stop loss, that basically dictates the stop loss and first target based on the day's volatility, so it's a little bit different every single day, has determined where our stop loss is as well as our first target. Now, using some other methods, that's how we got the above levels. And at this point, because we've already have everything kind of situated, we just need to sit back and wait and let time play itself out. Now, just be aware that there usually is a bit of turbulence, and this is a great example of that. And again, once everything is kind of set in stone, our main job is to let things run its course, okay? So as I just progress in the time lapse here a bit, you can see that we did end up pushing up after that major pullback. And with a little bit of help, as you can see, we soon ended up getting our first target. Now, at this particular point, we kind of just let price action do its thing, not reaching the midpoint of this range, which is our secondary target for right now, okay? But as you can see, after we did get that second target, I let price action just kind of progress on its own for a bit. But once we start getting too high, I do adjust my stop loss accordingly, okay? Now, in this particular situation, you will start to see me adjust the stop loss based on the fact that we are relatively close to the third target, and we don't want to give away too much of our gains, okay? So with our, I don't know if it's that big of a deal to tell you all, but we do use a particular system in trailing our stops, in which you will learn as a member of the Discord/Patreon, okay? This is just one of many great examples that you'll be able to have every single week as a member. So if you don't want to miss trades just like this, then look down below.